I like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This movie's called Lost Girls. Desperate to find her missing daughter, a mother fights to uncover the truth and help expose a string of unsolved murders based on a true story. So this movie came out last year. It's about an hour 35 minutes long. This is definitely based on a real story in New York. This story is not for the weak at heart at all. And if you have kids, you might not want to watch this one. Spoiler alert, let's get it. So right off the back, it starts off with this girl calling about 911, calling for help, and she's running through this marsh. We don't exactly know who she is yet. Next, we see this lady by the name of Marie. My fault, her name is Mari. Now, Mari's pissed off because they're cutting her hours on her work schedule. Then to make matters worse, she gets a phone call from the school about one of her daughters doing something. Turns out her daughter, Sarah, tried to light the bathroom on fire at school. For what reason, I have no idea. Well, anyway, her mom also works at a diner. So Mari lives with her two daughters, Cherie and Sarah, but she's on the phone with her third daughter, Shannon, and she's hoping that she'll finally come visit to spend time with her for dinner. She finally makes it back home, and she watches this tape of a talent show back when her oldest daughter, Shannon, was real young. Now, after back, you can tell their household is not really all that stable, but they do try their best to work together as a family. By the way, that's the middle daughter, Cherie. The youngest daughter putting her head on the table is Sarah. So they're all sitting at the table waiting on Shannon, who never showed up. They just assumed she ducked out on dinner, so Mari went to a bar. Cherie tries to call Shannon again, but all she gets is a voicemail. At that, she looks up a certain college that she's trying to go to. Next day, they all eating breakfast. Then Mari gets a phone call from a certain doctor looking for Shannon. She tells the doctor that she hasn't lived here since she was 12 and just hangs the phone up on him. Then Cherie's like, look, we need to be looking for Shannon. You said a doctor just called looking for her? She said she's called like 5 times, she hasn't responded. Then she said Shannon's boyfriend called him. The thing is, her boyfriend has never called to look for her ever. And has definitely never called Cherie, so this might be serious. But mom's just telling her this whole thing will blow over, she'll call. So now it's been a couple days now, Shannon still hasn't called and mom's getting worried. Sarah's getting scared, and then we find out later on she's a schizophrenic, which would be a big reason why she tried to burn down a school bathroom. So they all live in Ellerville, New York, but the last place Shannon was seen was in New Jersey. So they take a trip to the New Jersey police station, but they're not giving her any information she needs, they just put it in with the rest of the piles. So she goes to the front desk raising hell because she's like, look, I'm gonna get some damn answers. So she wanted to find out about the phone records. Come to find out, Shannon had 5 different phones. So now they're trying to figure out why the hell would Shannon need 5 cell phones, so now they're about to go to her boyfriend. This is her boyfriend, Pike. He's been looking for her too. So Mari tried to put the blame on him, try to figure out like, hey, what you been doing? So she tries to accuse him of doing something. And he's like, wait a minute, your daughter's always came to me, especially after you kicked her out. He says she was with some driver. Well, anyway, Pike tells Mari where to find the driver at. He talks to the driver, and she was like, yeah, she wanted to get dropped off at Oak Beach. He tried to get her to get back in the car, but she was hysterical, and then she ran off. So after a while, he just said, fuck it, and drove off. He thought she was on drugs or something. So wherever she was at was located in Long Island, New York. So they go to a police officer and tell her the last call that she made was a 911 call. It was like a 25-minute call. He tells her he heard from several residents that they said their daughter left on her own. The problem is when she called for help, it was at 4:50, but the police didn't even arrive till like 5:40. So it was like damn near an hour. While this is going on, a policeman just happens to be driving by Oak Beach, and he just happened to notice a dog digging up something. Come to find out, it was his police dog that picked up the scent, and they ended up finding 4 bodies out there. We don't know exactly who they are yet, but it's under investigation. Mari gets the news, but she hadn't told her daughters yet, so she's about to head right back to the police station. So now she's about to talk to Commissioner Dans. And we found out that the 4 bodies are actually girls, but none of them are Shannon. But now that they know there are bodies out there, they're going to quote-unquote do a thorough investigation. But they want to make sure she doesn't talk to the media, obviously making their job harder to do. Then on the news, we found out that they're claiming that most of the girls were prostitutes. But who has the knowledge to this? Why are they saying that? And why are they all buried back here in this random-ass Oak Beach? The police talk to the driver, he tells his side of the story. They talk to the boyfriend, he tells them whatever they need to know. After a while, they're not even putting the story up in the news, they're putting it on like the Today Show and all this other stuff. So you feel like they're not taking it as serious as they should. Cherie, in the meantime, made a Facebook page for her sister Shannon. And the mothers of the other missing daughters have been chiming in. Mari's been trying to call Commissioner Dans, who has not been answering her calls. So you know she's getting pissed off at this point. Then we found out this one suspect was cleared of all charges. They even had that goofy bitch Nancy Grace chiming in. Yeah, they were turning it into a clown show, and Mari's not having that shit. Mari's getting dressed up for the occasion, and she puts up a bunch of Shannon missing posters. And she basically has to come straight to Commissioner Dan since he's not answering the phone calls. Either that or the secretary's not telling him nothing. After that, Cherie sets it up when Mari tells her that she wants to meet with all the other women that have lost their girls. And she meets up with all the ladies in a restaurant. They all tell their stories. Apparently, all their daughters had burner phones. They were getting all their money from Craigslist. And yeah, they were all sex workers. Then Commissioner Dan's listening to a tape recording of Pike talking, and Pike was saying how Mari abandoned Shannon when she was a kid. And Shannon's basically been in and out of foster homes her entire life. And on top of that, Mom was taking Shannon's money. But that's more to the story of why Shannon wasn't really at home like that in the first place. And like I said, everybody else aired out their stories about their daughters. Mari's trying to give hope and encouragement to speak out about this, but you got to think to yourself, her daughter's the only one we think is still alive. The rest of their daughters we know are dead. So basically, at this point, she says, fuck the police, we're going to Oak Beach our damn selves. And that's exactly what they do. So they're in this gated community, they walking towards the house. Everybody's watching them, binoculars out their windows and shit. So she goes to the house of somebody who apparently hired her daughter. And of course, Commissioner Dan shows up. He shows up in 12 minutes, how convenient, right? Took you 12 minutes to show up because I was here, but it took the police an hour to show up when she was actually in trouble. He's telling her she can't be in a gated community. She's like, fuck all that, I just found one of my daughter's earrings outside of the damn house. And she was like, oh yeah, I found out you got fired one time before for mismanaging your department. Then he gives her Shannon's earring and walks off. Yeah, Mari doesn't have a whole lot of confidence in your squad. Then she gets a call from this guy named Joe that's going to help her out. Joe's going to go with her back up to Oak Beach. Meanwhile, the girls and Kim start telling stories about their daughters and stuff like that. Joe and Maury, on the other hand, go back to the house and they check around his back door. And who knows what he's hiding in the basement. There's like a bunch of bags in there where he keeps his supplies at. The house they happen to be at is the house of the doctor that called her earlier in the movie. He goes by the name of Dr. Hackett. She talks to the police once again. The police are trying to brush it off. And she hits him with a legit question. She's like, why does a doctor need construction equipment? Commissioner Dan tells the other police officer to write it down. Like, write this man's name down. So she's like, all right, finally we're getting somewhere. She goes back the next morning and knock on the doctor's door, but he's not even home. Then the next door neighbor calls her over and tries to tell her his side of the story. He pretty much saw what the driver saw. Then she notices security cameras on the pole. Then she goes to this building called the Oak Island Beach Association. She asks the lady if she's able to get the tape footage out of there. But she tells them it wouldn't do any good because it resets itself every day. Then she's thinking to herself, consider the situation, wouldn't the police have a copy? But the lady told the police never asked for a copy. She's like, oh shit. Then she's finally able to reach Dr. Hackett, the very narcissistic, sly-ass doctor. She's trying to figure out what happened. He's like, I don't know. But then she's like, well, you called me, so... And the doctor's trying to act like he doesn't remember, so it's like, okay. So right at the back, we like, this nigga shady. Then the policeman stops somewhere across the beach and he sees something. So she talks to Commissioner Dan about the footage, talk about it's been erased. She knows Hackett has something to do with it. And the police found something, but we don't know what it is. Turns out they found something, but it wasn't Shannon. But now they're discovering there are more bodies out here than people thought there were. Then Commissioner Dan has a one-on-one conversation with Dr. Hackett, and you can tell right off the back, this dude is just sly as fuck. So Dan's asking why they didn't show the police the footage or whatever. He was like, they didn't ask for it. He tells them maybe you ought to teach the cops better. He's pretty smug, for real. But sadly, he does have a point. Yeah, I wouldn't trust this motherfucker neither. Then Maury goes to talk to this guy, Joe again, who has a serious grudge with Dr. Hackett anyway. Then they put light to some other information. The police have checked all over the place except for one spot. It's a spot called the Marsh. It's literally the backyard, which is too hard for a football team to get through, let alone one girl. The ground is ridiculously soft, and anybody could pretty much get stuck there. Police come back, turns out the thing they found was another body. They said that body was been there once they put the pieces together. It's been there since 1996. Keep in mind the year is 2011 at this point right now. Then he's talking about for Maury to give up on trying to find the body of Shannon. It's like, are you serious? And he just contradicted himself. It's like, how the fuck are you going to tell her to give up on finding her daughter out there in the marsh, and you just found a body that's been there since 1996? Like, are you fucking serious? The girls later on made up a bunch of shirts for the 5 girls that are missing. Then they turn on the news with Commissioner Dan's. And they're telling us that Shannon will not be a part of this investigation because they've searched everywhere. Basically, long story short, they're going to slow down the investigation. Considering what they've been doing so far, slow means nothing. After hearing the news, Sarah starts spazzing out. She's like, they're never going to find our sister. Cherie's doing her best to calm her down. So you already know Marie's about to lash out at Dan's. But Dan's is like, look man, what can I do? The crazy thing is behind the scenes, he's only got one more year left till he retires. You see where I'm going with this, right? He doesn't come out and say it, but basically, it's short term, she can do her own investigation. Then Cherie has beef with her mom, because mom never told her the truth about her sister Shannon. Found out that she gave her away, found out that she was a prostitute. So she's like, what are you going to do, give me away too? You going to give away Sarah? They're not really feeling like much of a family right now. And she knows her mom doesn't have the money for college. Hell, they barely have enough money to survive on their own. Later on, all the victims' families get together. They all gather around lighting candles for the lost ones. But Mari's the only one not there. She's sitting in the car crying. Afterwards, they all head back home. One whole year later, Mari goes in her daughter's room, and mom gives her a package in the mail. I'm pretty sure it's that college tuition. Then Mari gets a call from Joe again, letting her know that Dr. Hackett's about to pack his bags and move out. He's like, this is the last time you ever get a chance to talk to him and basically check out that marsh. So she heads up there, has a one-on-one conversation with him, and you can tell she's ready to crack this guy's head open. Afterwards, she talks to Commissioner Dan's, who's not the commission anymore because he's pretty much retired. Then she says, fuck it, with whatever power you have left, either go check the marsh or I'm going to the news. Later on, he goes to a strip club thinking about his decision. And right when it looks like Mari's about to go on the road to leave, she sees a bunch of police cars going the opposite direction. Then a police van. Then a tractor trailer. So she immediately turns around after seeing all that. So she heads on over, and yes, they're finally searching over by the marsh. Then one of the mothers shows up to talk to her. And they sit in the car and talk. And they're thinking to themselves what's worse, knowing or not knowing. She's like, well, if you know, you're angry. If you don't know, there's still hope and you're still angry. And then she hears the police say, we got something. Oh boy. So at this point, they'd have found like 10 bodies in the marsh. And she goes up to Dan's, who's already there. She wants to know what he found, but you could tell by looking at his face, like, you know he knows what he found. They take her over to the spot, and they found Shannon's wallet. She goes over to the tent to let everybody know, and her and Cherie go out to see together. Sarah definitely can't handle that. She stayed back at the tent. And yep, they found Sarah. Those are bones. Now, apparently a while ago, she had got punched in the face, and she got hit so hard that she had to get a wire jaw shut. Or like a metal plated jaw or something. As you can see, those are the bolts right there in the mouth for the wiring. So yeah, that's definitely Sarah. And now she officially knows. Later on, all the girls do a press conference about the incompetence of police. They just want everybody to be treated equally, no matter if they are prostitutes or hookers or whatever. They're still people at the end of the day, and they still need protection. An independent autopsy of Shannon Gilbert's remains contradicted the police theory that Shannon died from exposure to the elements, finding out that her injuries were consistent with homicidal strangulation. Everybody thought she was crazy, but turns out there was no evidence of drugs in her system. 10 to 16 victims were ultimately attributed to the Long Island serial killer. No suspects have been charged in the case. The phone records later confirmed Peter Hackett did call Mary Gilbert. She filed a wrongful death lawsuit against him. This was taken in 2016. That's the real Mari, and that picture is the real Shannon. Okay, so remember when I talked about Sarah having schizophrenia? Turns out she had a psychotic episode after going off on a medication. And this took place in 2016. Mari tried to intervene, but Sarah ended up killing her mother by accident. Cherie, however, is still keeping up the good fight, and she's fighting for justice. And this is what the real family looked like. I saw this movie last year, and I forgot it was based on a true story, man. It's wow. The Lost Girls on Netflix. Check it out. Like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. Slick DZ, all DZ missed us. Big. Who's the goddamn slogan?